I have seen this guy in audition rooms. I've seen him on movie sets. I've seen him going to and from wardrobe, but I never had a chance to meet him. Shawn Fitzgibbon, it's great to meet you.
It's nice to finally meet you, Gary. How are you?
Thanks for coming on. By the way, you're in a great movie any day now, which we're going to talk about.
Yes, thank you.
And your method acting of getting hit in the balls is tremendous. I mean, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I
Okay.
assume you were able to pull from your memory
Oh,
from
yes,
past experience.
absolutely. Yeah. I am
But
from South Boston, so
uh, Erica Ronson, the director, sent me all these questions.
okay.
I said, Eric, send me a couple of questions. Like, is there anything you want me to say? Fucking 30 seconds later, I got a book. So, anyways, Shawn, the way I start this is, as you know, like acting is an addiction
Right.
because the only way you could put up with all this shit is to be addicted to it. So,
Exactly.
why are you addicted to acting?
Because it's fun and there's nothing else I'd rather do.
What does it do for you internally, though? Is there something psychologically that fulfills you?
Yeah, I think it's not because I had watched your episode with Ian Lyons.
Right.
Um, well, I forget who it was. The famous quote was, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Right.
I'd say for me, this is more less selfish reasons, more personal reasons. When I was a kid, I got my love of movies and TV from my dad. So
Right.
we used to sit and watch everything. I loved the animation. And I just a badge room. How do they do this? Well, how do they do this? So I was more fascinated with the behind the scenes stuff, how it got made. When I saw Star Wars on the movie theater, it blew my mind. And
Right.
I knew that like I have to do something with film and television, whether like make models, direct, write the stories. And I dabbled in plays. I was kind of like, do I want to be in front of the camera or not? So my dad used to be a set medic when they would make movies and TVs around here. So this is maybe, I don't know, 89, 90. There was a miniseries TV called The Kennedys of Massachusetts.
Sure.
William L. Peterson, Charles Durning. So he invited me to set. He's like, listen, these are long days. It's really boring. There's not going to be much to do. And unless you were cast or crew, you weren't allowed inside this mansion we were shooting. So my dad had been talking to a couple of people, and out of nowhere, Charles Durning comes over. And I'm like, I'm 13. I've got a giant flat top. I've got all sorts of shit shaved in my head. I got a gold earring. And he looks at me. He goes, "What are you supposed to be?" I said, "No." He goes, "So your old man says you think about maybe being an actor." I said, "Yes." Any advice? Because well, number one, study, and two, go to a different barber. So he hands me a script. He goes, "You're gonna run lines with me." Now, if I
Wow. You ran lines with Charles Durning?
Yep. He said, if I forget a line, I'm going to say line. You just give me the first two lines and you shut up. You don't say anything. You let me find those words. So they're about to shoot the scene, and I'm just kind of standing there, and he just does this. And he brings me and has me stand in the corner off camera. He says, don't say a word. Just shut up and watch. And it was like a 3-page scene between him and William L. Peterson. It was like an argument. And right off the bat, I was like, that's what I want to do.
Right.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah, it's hard to explain to people who aren't addicted like us. Where my wife sees me take the ring light and, set up my little iPhone and somebody in my family's got to read lines with me. When I ask, they all hide,
Yeah.
and they just shake their heads. And I said, yeah, you just don't understand. There's just something about it. And look at me, look at me, look at me. I remember that was like a Dustin Hoffman story. And I'm trying to, it's not just Hoffman, it's another. There's more to it than that because, as I've said, I don't want to repeat myself too much. On Instagram now and social media, you can get people to look at you. I mean,
Right.
there's something about the psychology of it. There's something about the belonging. There's something about filling your soul with an excitement
Yep.
about it. And there's something connected to your family. Like you just said, you did this with your dad. And so many actors have said they went to movies with their parents or their mom was really funny
Yeah.
or you know, I'm half Irish. I mean, you obviously have some Irish blood in you. I mean,
Oh
there's an
yeah.
entertaining bloodline there. I mean,
Oh yeah.
my first love of theater is my all my aunts and uncles are on our kitchen table, just telling stories.
Yep.
And this is we go, this is dating myself. We had one television station in Maine where I was, Channel 5 in Bangor, because we had an antenna. We didn't have cable. And so they would come and they would sit around and they would tell stories. And every story had a beginning and a middle and an end.
Right.
And looking back on it, they all knew how to hit the right mark. They all knew how to punctuate. Like they
Yeah.
all knew how to hit the punchline, and I would hear the same stories over and over, and I would still laugh. So that was my first exposure to it. And I think so many people, it's some connection to family,
Yeah.
that I've heard, watching movie. It goes back to some connection to family because that little mini theater, uh, you saw the warmth and the response, and you make people feel good. I mean, that's
Yeah.
another thing about it is you don't necessarily see it from a film, but you know that when you're doing this, you're making somebody feel good
Yeah.
or an escape or something like that. So it's more than just look at me, because Lord knows now, if you want people to look at you, you could just act like an idiot,
Right.
you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
So when did you start? I mean, so you're 13. I mean, you're with, Charles Durning, who fell in love with Dustin Hoffman as Tootsie, by the way. That's
Yeah.
all. So what did you do after that?
Well, I will say this. In that time in South Boston, this is before Good Will Hunting came out.
Right.
The dramatic and performing arts was not something that was widely encouraged. So
Got
I
it.
was always into like music, film, and television. Like you said, it was an escape. I would go to the movies at least twice a week, and it got
Yeah.
to the point where like none of my friends wanted to see like any of the foreign films, so I'd go by myself.
Right.
I saw everything.
What
Um,
movie, what movie first really like hit you? Like, I mean, I know you're talking about the experience you had on set, but like what movie is like still in your head?
well, I would say that like a movie that I saw that kind of got me into
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
So like, well, obviously Star Wars, and the thing is because it's the escape because it was unlike anything anyone's seen before. And they created within the first 10 minutes when you've got that crawl and the ship comes through, you're already in a world. You understand the world. And
Right.
before Darth Vader has even spoken a single word, within the first 3 seconds, he is into frame. You know that he will be one of the biggest villain icons in cinematic history.
Right.
Like everything was there.
Was there
I
a
would
foreign
also
film? Something like that?
yes. I thought that Seven Samurai,
Oh,
because my dad we watched the Magnificent Seven, and then he's like, "Listen, this movie is based off of this film, and this is where George Lucas got most of his ideas from. The Secret Fortress. It's all kind of based off of these ideas."
so
So
your
he
dad
just,
knew his stuff.
oh yeah, oh yeah, and that's the other thing too that I realized that because essentially film is theater where you could watch it wherever you want to. If you
Right.
so that's what it is. But I think that's kind of the universal connection of wanting to be entertained, wanting to get lost in a story. To me, that's everything, and that's why I just want to be part of it. Maybe not necessarily, be the star of, hey, check this out. I'm in this thing. It's like more like, hey, check this out. They made this, and I was get to be a part of that. And I think for me, that's what it is. This is like the ultimate behind the scenes tour. This is like the Hollywood studio backlot tour. Like you're in it, you're doing it. And I also think that uh, Jaws and Godfather, just to kind of get those, to understand the concept of storytelling. Because when you're a little kid, you think that every movie's great, you know. But at that one, I don't know, for some reason, I just had a really deep appreciation of all the hard work that went into it. The labor of that. I don't know. It's just something I wanted to do, and I didn't really start to do plays or study until I was about 18. There was a place called the Actors Workshop in Boston, and I studied for 3 years, different levels. We did some. I did Danny the Deep Blue Sea, which is a two-person play by John Patrick Shanley. Did some Eugene Ionesco plays that were just over my head. I don't know
Just
what the
say the
hell I was. It
lines.
was. I mean, I'm sure I was terrible, but I wanted to get to film. So at that point, Good Will Hunting was filming, and of course, they had an open casting call, and I was one of thousands of people that went into that. Didn't get anything, and I remember like seeing it in the theater and leaving, and I was pissed. It's like, that's bullshit. Those guys aren't from Boston. It's Cambridge. It's a different zip code. So I remember a couple of people had said there's a guy by the name of Peter Kelly. The project's called the Harrison Project. And there were 3 other instructors. So first thing Monday morning, I called. I had an interview. He asked me why I wanted to do this, And I did the first, the beginner's course. And the last thing we did, we did a scene. And he was there. We watched the scenes and he would critique us. And after that, he asked, did I want to be part of the advanced scene? And I studied with him for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And then eventually, because they were kind of connected with Boston Casting with Carolyn Pickman.
Right.
And then I had, my first audition was a ESPN commercial, which got delayed, and finally they scrapped it. And then my other second audition that I've ever did, it was kind of almost like my first big part, was Mystic River. So initially there was like 2 lines. That was it. And then I had a call back for that. And they said, well, why don't you read for the funeral director? And I read for it. And then they had me do a callback. And then they had it in Faneuil Hall with Phyllis Huffman, who was the casting director for Warner Brothers Studio.
Right.
And Carolyn picked me there. And there's a camera operator and reader was in the room. And I'm halfway during the scene. And Phyllis Hoffman says, thank you. She cuts me off during the audition. Yeah. And I went, thank you very much. I went outside and I had a panic attack. And I called my coach, Peter Kelly, and I said, they just cut me off. He said, well, what would you have done different? And I'm my own worst critic. And I said, there's nothing.
Right?
Yeah. I was like, there's nothing I would have done differently. So, just like any true, Bostonian, I went out and drowned my sorrows that night. And he had left me a message on my cell phone. I was like, you know what? I'll check it out later on. And he said, you made the cut. And he goes, whether you get this part or not, you're going to be my hero, because Clint Eastwood's going to sit in the room and watch you act. And then 6 weeks later on, I found out that I booked it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. My first speaking part was a scene with just me and Sean Penn, directed by Clint Eastwood.
What was that like? Take us through that whole situation.
Terrifying. I actually threw up on my way driving over to the funeral.
Just like Bill Russell.
Yes. Just like Bill.
Shawn Fitzgibbon, Bill Russell. Yeah,
exactly.
There you go.
Again, him and one of my favorite movies. It's an underrated movie. It's called State of Grace. It's Sean Penn and Gary Oldman. So I watched the movie. It's fantastic, and of course Clint Eastwood is just an absolute icon. So I get there, and I was very close to telling them that I just can't do it. So I had to pull myself together. Like, this is what you want to do. Got changed, got wardrobe done. Going to the funeral home. The people who owned the funeral were there, and someone told a joke. And then you heard that mysterious and turn around. And there he is, all 6-7 feet of him, was Clint Eastwood. And he said, all right, so we're going to call you number 2. Or just, when we say Sean, we don't mean you. Obviously, that's important. He goes, do you know the lines? I says, yes, I do. Any questions? I says, no. Do you have anywhere place to be tonight? He's like, no, I'll be here till midnight. And he goes, well, you could be here till midnight. I won't. We're shut down at 5 o'clock. And that's what it was. All the stories about him. He doesn't say action. He doesn't say cut. It's okay, go ahead, or whenever you're ready. And then when it's done, he just says, stop. And we banged out that whole scene. And at one point we had a break, and then Sean Penn was downstairs. His assistant brought him a phone, and he said, oh, Mr. Ed Norton's on the phone for you, sir. So he's talking to Ed Norton, and he goes, hey, Ed, what's going on? He goes, yeah, I'm in Massachusetts. I'm doing this little film with Clint Eastwood, Kevin Bacon, and Tim Robbins. He goes, I think it's going to be pretty good. By the way, he ended up getting the Academy Award for that. That whole moment was just absolutely surreal.
What was Penn like to work with?
I wouldn't say he's method, but at that point, like I was just afraid to say anything, because at one point we get there, we shook hands briefly, and he looks at me and he's just kind of looking at me. And he mouths the words, do you want to run lines? And I went, sure. So we went it through one time. He said, all right. We're gonna do that again. I'm like, okay, great. Oh, great. So halfway during the runs, he starts yelling, and he kind of cuts me off a little bit. And I kind of expected that. I didn't expect I don't know, for some reason in my head, I was pre-dooming myself that maybe you'd see my face, but the rest would just be narration or like a slow pan on him. That kind of makes sense. But yeah, I was just kind of in awe with him. Like he's got everything going on, and I'm not sure if that famous scene where he's in Franklin Park, the whole meltdown scene. I think that was like 2 days before. So there's a lot of heavy lifting. And again, it's just I'm one of these day places. He doesn't want to talk to me. I would want to talk to me if I were him.
Well, it's so hard
Yeah.
because you just don't know.
No.
You don't want to be, you just don't want to be that guy,
Right. Right. You
right?
don't want to
You
be the
just want to be
shrinking
a
violet either.
pro,
Yeah.
go and do your
Yeah.
thing, and then hit it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Let's segue into then. I want to get back to your other experiences, but let's segue into the Ella McKay, and you could tell your Albert Brooks story because as I shared with you over the phone, Jamie Lee Curtis was wonderful. She was talking to everybody. So like
Yes.
she kind of set the tone. Like you knew with
Yes.
her, she was open,
Yes.
so it was like it was kind of relaxed. And Brooks is just funny, but you have a great Brooks story.
Yeah. So we're sitting there, and I'm just kind of in awe because Jamie Lee Curtis is there. Jack London, who's in Slow Horses, is there. Julia Kavanaugh is there. And then, of course, Albert Brooks is there.
I know.
And at one point, we're just kind of just mulling around. We shot this at the Capitol building in Rhode Island, in Providence. We're all dressed up. I would say this is probably the nicest I've ever looked in a film. I was very happy about that. And so at one point, just kind of standing around, and we've got chairs, and he's introduced himself to everyone, and goes, "Hi." He goes, "I'm Shawn," and he goes, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Boston, sir." And he goes, "Oh, you're a fucking Red Sox fan, aren't you?"
Yeah.
Yeah. He went, and then didn't say anything to me for 2 hours.
Right.
So at one point, there's a scene where he's supposed to pass a note. He was going to give it to someone who's sitting next to me. Chris Everett, local actress, she's great. Then she's giving it to me, and I'm going to give it to some other guy. So we're just rehearsing. Like 2 hours have gone by. He's probably talked to 600 people. He doesn't know who I am. So at one point, he's talking to the first AD, and he goes, "Can I just say something? I just think it would be funnier if I skipped over her and just gave the note to Shawn for him to pass to the guy, and then me and him could kind of like we got like a thing. We're doing a thing." And I was just like, "He knows my name, and it was cool." And that I think we shot that for 3 days. And but again, it was just like I'm just taking everything in, being quiet when you should. And like you said, you're just the hired gun. It's like it's like you can appreciate this analogy. It's like being a relief pitcher. Be good now. Don't no nothing showboating. Just go in there and just do your thing, and that's it.
I'll take you a step further. It's like being Tony Fossis.
Oh, perfect.
Get one guy out. It's not even the closer.
No,
it's not even the closer.
Yeah,
it's not Papelbon.
Yeah,
it's just get one guy out,
and that's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. But it's just funny because I'm sure you've experienced this too. Because sometimes when you see these people, like these really big stars, like I met Anthony Hopkins once, and he just they don't look real. You know what I mean? It's almost like some weird like Disney animatronic that you're looking at when they're talking to you.
Sure, especially when you've seen them so much. And I think it makes them uncomfortable too. Someone like Jamie Lee Curtis, who obviously grew up with it with her parents, she's very aware of who she is. When she gets on set, she introduces herself to everybody. She understands. Yes. Brooks has been around so much. His dad was in show business. I don't think, Albert was telling jokes and walking around. I don't think he really cares.
No.
Quite frankly, I don't think he cares at all. But there's, they used to, I obviously I don't know this, but I used to hear that about, in a podcast with John Fiore was telling great stories about, Gandolfini, and had some great, Soprano stories. And he said, we'd be like at the height of the Sopranos. I mean, Gandolfini was Elvis.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was the biggest star in the world.
Yep.
And John said to me, and he said this in the podcast, he was like, John, Gandolfini was saying to me like, John, I have trouble putting on my pants in the morning. I mean, he's just a guy.
Yeah.
He loved acting. He was very good at what he did. But he was like, he wasn't comfortable like an Albert Brooks or a Jimmy Lee Curtis. But of course, Albert Brooks had done a lot of stand-up comedy. He was accustomed to being in front of people. He'd grown up in it. Some of these people that haven't grown up in it, they kind of get thrown into it, and they're just like, I love what I do, but I know it's hard to feel sorry for a superstar, but that first time you go in, I'm sure that first time you go into that fishbowl, it's weird.
Yeah, it
It's
is
weird. Like you don't
strange.
know what to do.
I'll go one step further with Gandolfini. I think what was unusual and interesting about him was because at one point he was, he was a, and this is when television was starting to rival film.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
and he's not, classically traditional, good-looking leading man. But
Right.
if you watch the first 6 episodes of The Sopranos, and then afterwards you watch his accent, his mannerisms, he's figuring out Tony Soprano. So all the great stuff that he was doing, we were watching him figure it out as well.
And Sean, you're absolutely right. And that's the
Yeah,
hard thing about what we do. And this is no secret. Actors have said this.
yeah,
Yeah, Casey Affleck, I know, said this in an interview. The tough part when you're going in like a hired gun for a day, you just got to go in and get out.
yeah,
You don't really have time to figure it out. You're kind of a lampshade. You're there for the star.
yeah.
But even Jeff Daniels said it on Newsroom, which I love that series. I thought Daniels
Amazing show.
was
I love
great.
it.
And he said he didn't get the character completely until the end of season one,
Yep,
which makes total sense.
yep.
When it just makes complete sense. Um, I have, I do want to get to Any Day now.
Sure, sure.
And the legendary director one, Eric Aronson. I said, send me a question or two.
Okay,
Sends me a book.
okay.
All right, let me see here. What was it like working with Paul Guilfoyle, a Boston guy who's great in this movie?
So meeting him was like meeting one of my heroes because he's a local guy done good. I didn't realize that he was in the movie until 2 days on my first day of shooting.
No kidding.
And I almost fanboyed out because I knew when I first started taking classes, I knew that he's originally from South Boston. He had moved out, which is where I'm from. He played hockey for high school. He played hockey for college for a while. And I mean, he's just got a fantastic body of work. He's the career that I want, a
Well, I
working
mean,
actor.
Pacino at the premiere there, Pacino sent the tape
Yep.
because
Yeah.
he had worked with Pacino.
They lived together for a while. They've done some off Broadway and on Broadway
Yeah.
stuff. In between takes, he was telling us all these. At one point, like there was one particular day that our scene was running late because they were still filming something else. So we're in this room with him for 4 hours, and everyone there was like 8 other people. And like after the first half hour, we all formed like a circle with chairs. We asked him, "Well, Paul, what about this movie? When you did this, what was?" It? And he just tell the stories. He's a phenomenal storyteller. There's a regalness about him. There's kind of like a weird reverence for him. So I just thought that I almost like the first night that we met everyone together was the night, if you've seen the movie, when we were all jumping into the car after we dared the guy to go into the swimming pool, we'd take his clothes and drive away. So I forget what baseball game. It was like game two of the World Series. And this is like 2023 we shot it. So our holding areas was some guys like a basement, a triple deck. We're shooting this in Medford. So Paul's there. I see David Pridemore, Taylor Grary's there, and then Mike Bash. I knew who Mike and David were. I'd never met Taylor before, but I see Paul, and I didn't want to fanboy out, so I'm kind of hiding in the back. And out of nowhere, he loops around, puts his hand up, says, "Hello, I'm Paul." So I'm like, oh, God, there he is. So at one point, we're doing the blocking, and we did a test run where it's kind of cold. It's like October now. It's like 11 o'clock at night. It's about 30 degrees. So we're driving up and down the street testing this convertible. And remember, at one point, before we even shot a single frame, Paul just turns around and looks at us, and he goes, "We got ourselves a fucking crew." And then from that moment on,
You were good.
because anytime you're on set, it could be you could be there for 6 hours, you could be there for 20 hours.
Well,
And
the
that's
casting
just
was great. I mean,
oh, it was
Eric did a great
perfect.
job. I
It
mean,
was perfect.
the cast. I don't even know who did it. I mean, he got a hold of me to be the news voice. Was it? I don't know if it was CP or Boston
It
Casting or
it was yeah, CP casting. Yes, yes.
CP. Okay, so
Yeah.
by the way, Any Day Now. By the way, if you haven't seen it, you need to see it because you can watch it on Apple TV right now. The premise is we don't really know what happened in the Gardner heist at the Gardner Museum, but according to Eric, this is what happened.
Yes, it's a very comedic version of what happened.
And it's very smart.
Yes.
It's very funny. Uh, Pridemore is out of his mind. There's a great scene with you guys hitting golf balls. You get hit in the
Yes.
nuts.
Yes.
What else do you need to know? I mean, really, what else do you need to know?
It's kind of a humorous account of a slightly fictional take of what happened for those who aren't familiar with the story. Uh, March 17th, 1990, $500 million worth of artwork was stolen
Right.
from the government and never seen again. There's been lots of documentaries and podcasts about it. So this is kind of like a humorous take of what could have happened and what didn't happen. But what I love about it, it watches like a '90s independent movie, and it takes place in the '90s. You've got the nostalgia of the time period it's set in, and just going to the movies to see like something
Right.
off the beat. I
And it's
loved
like
everything about it.
87 minutes. It's
Yes,
not 2.5 hours.
yes,
It's tight. It's there.
yeah,
Eric did a great job with it. So again, Apple TV and Amazon and other streaming platforms.
yep,
So here's another question from your director. What are some
yep.
of the signals you pick up from fellow actors that give you an indication of where to take the material? Good question.
I don't even know if it's a signal. I think for this particular set, there were a couple of scenes that were cut. There was a particular we had like a sing along, and one of it was a Johnny Cash song, "Ring of Fire," and we just kind of improvised that whole, and it was really, really, really funny. There's a couple lines here or there, but I think on set it was very loose. Um, very, there was nothing like, oh, maybe I should. He gave us the option to kind of try stuff, and it wasn't a signal. It just happened. Some people just said a line, or maybe someone paused, and
Right.
maybe we thought someone forgot a line. We just kind of jumped in, and he let us do like a couple of different takes, and a lot of those moments are in the movie. And I think the signal was not seeing the signal, but you just have to remind yourself what we're supposed to do when doing a scene. We're supposed to be present. We're supposed to be listening, and to expect the unexpected.
Right. So that this is also a great question. The first time I heard this was a while ago because again, one of the reasons I'm doing this is so I can just talk to like-minded people
Right.
because I don't have a lot of my friends from sports and my family who geek out on acting. I mean, I could talk about acting and things and methods and Stanislavski and this and that. I mean, I could talk about it all day long because there's a lot of psychology there.
Right.
And, Richard Jenkins from Rhode Island, who's awesome.
I Great
A
actor.
long time ago, I heard him say, I learn it, I learn it, I know it, I know it. And when I get to the set, I forget about it.
Yep.
And I
Absolutely.
think that's really the best thing you can do because, um, you know, it, that's when the real stuff happens. And if you've done your preparation, it's already in there.
Right.
So do you feel do you feel that's when you do your best work as opposed to having a premeditated thought of a behavior?
Yeah. I just think that I've learned as just for doing this for a long time. Obviously, if anything, it's preparation, it's memorization. You memorize that script, you read it, you read it, you read it, you read it. And I've made this mistake before too, that I'm memorizing the lines, saying it with a certain cadence as if I'm going to I'm memorizing the lines because I'm married to a particular way that I'm going to do the scene.
Right.
And that is dangerous to do. I mean, maybe that's one way you can get the lines down, but I think in your mind, you have to have a good imagination, come with several ideas, because if you're on set, we all have this preconceived notion of how the scene is supposed to go. And like I said, once you're on set, once that actor says the first line, the tone is different. Maybe it's less energy, maybe it's different. The environment kind of, I think when you're on set, sometimes you actually sit there. If you don't get a chance to kind of check it out, that's a huge influence on the scene, because the scene itself, the setting is a character as well too. And I just think that as an actor, you have to be ready to take that note that the director gives you. If he
Totally.
says less here, more here, or just don't say anything, like you have to like on a dime be able to figure that out. And I think the more that you do that, I think you also have to be willing to be less afraid of being. I don't want to make a fool out of myself, because you had mentioned that on your previous podcast with Ian, the fear that you're going to do something look foolish, you're going to make a fool of yourself. I think you have to get over that, because not
Totally.
none of 10 times the improv, it's. I mean, you might get the crew to chuckle, but and that's fine. It's what that's kind of a gauge of what, because that's who's going to see the movie, the audience. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think it also depends on the set too, because there are some directors, you can improvise. The script is, those are the words. It's like Shakespeare.
Oh,
You
like the
cannot deviate.
Maisel, Mrs.
Yes.
Maisel,
Yeah. You can't
they're
deviate
like,
from
you
that
got to be
text.
on
Yeah.
punctuation, everything.
Yeah.
You got to be on, and it's great writing. So, like, who are we to argue with those words?
Right.
But you're right. I always point, sometimes I go back to the sports analogy like Brady. Brady was never afraid to make a mistake. And
Correct.
that's what I tell my kids. No, you can't be afraid to make a mistake because it's going to happen. And even, I think the discussion was Joaquin Phoenix, who says, I feel like an idiot the first day. I
Yeah.
mean, let's face it. If we were on the street doing what we were doing on a set, they'd lock us up.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we love to play insanity, and we just get justified by doing it in front of a camera.
Yeah.
So you
It's
got
just
to, so you can't be afraid to make a mistake. I had an acting coach. He said you have to run the lines four different ways, at least. You have to sing them. You have to do them depressed. You have to do them up. You have to do them in a British accent. You
yeah.
have to do them, in a French accent. You have to just like run them 100 different ways because of what you're saying. If the
Right.
director, or even if the star says, no, I want to do it differently and throw something at you, you got to be able to adjust.
Yeah.
You
I've
know,
actually I've actually been in there was a TV show defending Jacob that I was on where
right?
one of the
Great
leads,
show.
it was a fantastic show,
Great
great
show. Good for you.
experience. Thank you. One of the leads, she's like, I don't like that line. I don't think I would say that line. And she turned around and she goes, I think Detective Peterson would say that line. So because of her, I got two extra lines out of that. So I won't argue with that. Thank you very, very much. But I mean,
Was
it's,
that
yeah, it's,
which actor was that?
oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I forget her name. Oh gosh.
Connery? Was
She,
it his wife?
no, 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 not Michelle Dockery.
Was
Oh
it
my
Dockery?
God.
I love Dockery. Oh my
Oh,
God.
she's fantastic. Gosh,
And while you're
Betty
looking
J.
that up, you know what was great about that series? First of all,
Yes,
I mean, everybody was nails in that thing.
perfect.
The set design was phenomenal because I read about how they wanted the colors of the house to represent the mood of the family, and they nailed it.
Yep.
They nailed it. And the guy that played opposite Evans was terrific too. I mean, Evans, I don't feel too bad for him that he was Captain America, but he's $80 million later or whatever. He's
Exactly.
he's trying to shake that loose, and I thought he did a
Right.
good job with that show. But the guy that played
Yes.
the DA was outstanding too.
Pablo Schreiber. He was fantastic.
He was phenomenal.
And Cherry Jones was super, super, super nice. For some reason, me and her just hit it off. The
Yeah.
first day that I was on set, where I'm having makeup, she's over there, and of course, I know who she is. I'm a giant fan, and she just kind of leans over and goes, "Are you Sean?" I'm like, "Yes," and she goes, "I'm Cherry." Goes, "Oh, I know who you are. It's nice to meet you." She goes, um, "I'm almost finished with makeup." Goes, "Do you smoke cigarettes?" I says, "Yes, I do." At the time, I did. She goes, "It's a terrible, disgusting habit, and it's awful, and it's unhealthy for you." And she, "But that's okay because I smoke too. So once you're done, will you want to go out and have a smoke and we'll run lines?" So the couple of days that we were working together shooting on, she would come over like in between breaks, set up the camera. She would just do this. She'd grab me and she'd tell one of the PAs that we're broken having a smoke. So which is kind of cool. And we're outside. She's telling me, um, about this new project she's working on. She's talking about like stories like studying in New York. For me, that's one of the best things. Learning from the actors in between takes when they get to tell you the stories of all the stuff that they've done. I love that. That's great.
Okay, how do you feel? You saw with Ian. Ian told some great audition stories
Yes.
because we all have the bombs. So let's talk about your audition process, and you have to tell us. Of course, Allison, my dear friend, said I've never had a bad audition.
I know.
Um, I love her. Her point, like I'm being redundant. I've said this in every interview. Her point was, I'll take it, is that in her mind, she's always done what she wanted to do, which
Right.
is a great way to, the casting director. But why I love Allison is like she would say, "Oh, the casting director's wrong." um, he's the best.
God bless her.
So yeah, give me some horror stories, your philosophy, your theory, because it sucks.
Okay.
Auditioning sucks.
It's it. I I miss being in the room, but I think that I like the self tape a little bit better
Well, it's convenient, yeah.
because I can go back and adjust. But I don't know. I'm so on the fence with that. I would say one of my first terrible auditions. It was a student film, and they said they gave me an address, and I was working, up in between my day job, and so I'm like, okay, I'll get a cab and I'll be here, and it was like 8 pages of dialogue that I had to. So I'm sitting there, I'm going through it, and there's a phone number, and I'm in this room and no one's there. Now it's an hour late, no one shows up. So I call the number, and they're like, "Where the hell are you?" I'm like, "I'm outside the door. It's. I think the address is like 101 Beacon Street in Boston." They're like, "No, 101 Beacon Street in Brookline, or whatever the address was."
Right.
I was in the wrong part of town. I wasn't even remotely
Ah.
close. But my other, like, my worst audition that I fell apart. Do you remember they did the movie Underdog?
Oh yeah.
All right, so I don't know how I pulled it off, but I had asked someone, and someone spoke to a casting. They were doing the casting in Rhode Island, and they said, "Okay, there's a couple little bit parts you can read for. It's a cold read, so just come down." So I left Boston, and there was a horrific accident, and I was maybe about an hour late than I wanted to be. I always try to get there like a little early. So I got there where I just had like 10 minutes to spare for the audition. It's summertime. I'm sweating bullets. I get in there. So they rush me in on all that stuff. She goes, "Ready, action." And I just looked because I had just a couple of minutes to memorize a line. And I looked at her and I blanked out.
Oh
There was
yeah.
a good 30 seconds.
Sucks.
I just like,
Man. Sucks.
it's like, you know what? Sorry I wasted your time. My apologies. You have a great day. That was awful. But it was weird because I was just starting out, but I was like, I'll never get called in to read again. I panicked over that. And, it happens. It happens.
Totally happens.
Yeah.
You know.
We're all shitty when we
We
first start
keep
out.
coming back from war.
Absolutely.
Let's see if there's anything else here. Okay, we'll wrap it up with this. What, because you're a Boston guy, obviously, everybody knows the Gardner Museum story.
Yeah.
I think pretty much, well, Paul's a Boston guy. I mean, majority of the cast is from Boston. Did you have a sense of responsibility? Was there anything about being in a Boston story that made it special?
Yes, because I think it's part of it's the latest of the Boston lore. I think Paul Guilfoyle did an interview about the movie where he says that Boston itself is a character of the movie.
Oh, no question.
I truly believe that.
Absolutely.
And I think the days of Boston that you and I are familiar with, unfortunately, they're kind of gone. It's a different Boston. It's a new Boston. But I just think, yeah, there was a certain responsibility to kind of, I think to kind of keep the myth and keep everyone guessing too. And also to have, the authentic Boston accent. When I first started doing this, it was like, your accent is going to kill you. It's not nearly as bad. I mean, I could lose it if I have to, no problem. But before it was terrible. But I just think that, yeah, you had to, I don't know. There's a certain cadence. There's a walk about that. Did you ever see the TV show? Oh my God, Ray Donovan on Showtime.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I loved it.
Apart from the fact they realized early on that they screwed up how we pronounce the name. It's not Donovan. We pronounce it Donovan.
Donovan.
So it's
Yeah, my dad. Donovan. D-U-N.
Yes, it's the
Yeah.
Irish like version.
Donovan.
So there were a couple things that I noticed for me, particularly John Voight's Mickey character. What I noticed about him, oh gosh, the guy who plays the brother who had Parkinson's.
Eddie.
Eddie Marzen.
Eddie Morrison.
And Liev
Eddie
Schreiber.
Marsden.
So for me, what I noticed, all three of those guys was their shoulders. John's Voight's shoulders are pushed forward. And even though he tries to do the right thing, he's like a ship without a rudder. He's just constantly just being pushed ahead. Like he has no control what's going on. And Terry, because he's got the weight of the world on him, his shoulders are always down. And Ray's shoulders are always back. So these are little tiny physical things that, it's just something you just pick up in the neighborhood. Like the guys are like really tough.
Yeah.
But I think it's just, that kind of those subtle silences and just kind of like that, just the weird offbeat of that. Yeah, I think we did a great job trying to bring that to a tradition, but also with Eric's spin on it too. So yes, and it was just so much fun to do.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. I mean, it looked like a blast. Eric's terrific. Again, you can catch it on Apple TV, and I think Amazon too, or streaming around the world. But you can check it out. It's a piece of cake. Shawn, it's been awesome to talk with you. Hopefully, I'll see you soon. That's great stuff. Really great stuff. Congratulations on the movie.
Thank you very much.